Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Journey to Legacy podcast. I am your host, Wayne Veldsman. Today, I am interviewing Mr. Peter Banigo of Target ICT. They're a tech company that focuses on everything digital. Our conversation today ends up being not so little about that, not about technology at all, but more about growth and personal development. Peter shares about the challenges that he went through after starting a successful business, his first business right out of the gates, to how he grew over a decade, almost hit a low in his life, that he shares some amazing tips on how he got out of it, things that are really actionable that all of you can take away. After our interview, actually, he says that he's so inspired to share his story because at this lowest point in his life, he didn't have anybody to talk to. He didn't have much inspiration. So he wants to be that inspiration for others. So I think you all are going to really, really enjoy it. If you do, please share the episode as always. But let's hop right on in. Peter, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Wayne. How are you?
I am great, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm already enjoying our conversation, but tell everybody that's listening now a little bit about yourself, please.
All right. So let's just go a little bit of history. Younger me, I was sort of a bookworm. Yeah, I was sort of a bookworm. So, and I used to top my class back then. So I grew up in Nigeria. So the career path then was that when you top your class and all that, you're going to be a medical doctor. I think when I was maybe 12 or 13, my friend whose brother was medical doctor brought in the pictures of them in anatomy practice, and I changed my mind. I'm not doing that. Then, so I studied engineering instead. Going to engineering, I think one of the days, that was around 2008 or 9, I can't remember specifically. We went to work on Monday morning. I realized that and found out that like half of my colleagues were laid off. And then I felt really terrible about that because I realized that going down this career path, it can be me in the future. You had no advance warning, you have your plans, your family, your friends, everything, and it just goes off. I think when I look back, I didn't know at that point when I started everything, but looking back, I realized that's what made me decide to go into entrepreneurship, go into what I had control over, what I knew everything going bad or good was my fault. So I think that's a summary of my story.
Nice. Interesting. Growing up, you're a big bookworm. You thought you were going to head the direction of becoming a doctor. Instead, you went the direction of engineering. And then there was this big realization, this big pivot that happened that pushed you into entrepreneurship, which was a lot of your colleagues got laid off at the time. What was the reasoning for it? Like what happened to them getting laid off, and then of course you realizing you theoretically could be next?
I think that was during or just after the 2008 financial crisis. So I believe the company we worked for wasn't getting enough contracts and enough jobs, so they needed to cut costs. Because these colleagues were actually very brilliant, really good at what they do. They are even still really in different positions, really good. But I think the company just had to randomly pick people and cut them off to, they were just like numbers on a spreadsheet or something like that. So
yeah, that's crazy, right? That you just said that. So the financial crisis hit and they had to cut people that were just numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't do anything wrong. This actually happened in my life as well, which is so interesting. I didn't know this, but that's what pivoted me into entrepreneurship. I unfortunately was the one that was cut. And when someone sits you down and says, "We're so sorry, but we have to fire you, but you did nothing wrong." That is a realization, man, that you need to go into entrepreneurship. And so then it sounds like you pivoted, right? That was 2008, and then towards 2010, you launched into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I did.
Tell us more about
I
it.
did. So Okay, so 2008, no, that was 2009. So I remember I registered my first company in 2009, but that was all I knew how to do register. I didn't know how to do business or anything. anything. So I just kept reading books, entrepreneurship books, magazines. I remember back then in uni, under my bed had old magazines just filled up. I kept reading about business ideas and all that. Then I think mid 2010, I wrote my final exam in engineering. And I remember that evening was when I launched my web hosting company.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Exciting. How did you, I like that you took that first step, 2009, 2010, right? You said all you knew how to do was just register a company, right? Which you probably asked questions or read some books and you learned like, okay, well, I
Yeah.
can do that, right? And you took the first step. What do you think is the power of just taking a first step, even though you didn't know what was next? How did it affect you?
I think that part was taking the first step. Recently, I heard a quote by JP Morgan that just made it so clear to me. The quote goes, go as far as you can, and when you get there, you can go further. So most times we want to do something and we can't see an end. We can't even see what's going to happen next, but we have the faith that what we want to do is the right thing we want to do. So I think that's what's happened back then. That's what happens to a lot of us. I use the analogy of climbing a mountain, a very tall mountain. When you're at the foot of the mountain, you can only see clouds. You can't see the top of the mountain. But if you climb to the middle, you're able to either see the top or more of the mountain. So I think that's taking that first step makes the journey clearer. Gives you more opportunities, shows you more things that you can do to move further.
Amazing, amazing. That JP Morgan quote, go as far as you can, and once you reach there, you'll be able to go farther.
Further,
And the same
yeah,
with climbing this mountain, where at the beginning you can't see the top. But as you start making progress, your next steps become clearer. Seeing the final destination becomes clearer.
exactly,
I love that so
exactly.
much. A lot of people are too afraid to start these days. I mean, so when you started your web hosting company in 2010, right? I'm sure you were nervous. How did the start go? How did you even get into it?
I think when I was younger, I was just this very overconfident young man.
Yeah, great.
Because I think back in school I always grasped concepts easily. So I was this kind of student that could pass exams without studying. And I think I took that into business. Starting the web hosting company, what happened? I read a book. I can't remember. The book was Your First One. I've forgotten the name of the book. But I picked up the book. I got a DVD from one other guy, how to build Joomla websites or something. And I just went through the book step by step that evening, put up my hosting plan, put up my website. And then, so for the first month or two, I didn't know how to sell it. But I think by the third month or so, I now created a package with the DVD, the Joomla website DVD, how to build SMS websites with Joomla. I created that as a product, SMS business in a box. Sold that on Google Ads and co. And when you sell an SMS website, they host. So I think that's how we grew.
That let me just check if I'm hearing this correctly. Your first business was selling web hosting services, and you
Yeah,
and you started selling it as you learned through a book how to even have web hosting running.
yeah,
I love it. I mean, I love it. There's this movie called Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio. You familiar with
yeah,
the movie?
yeah. I think I've said it.
In it, I think he's going, I don't know if it's law school. Either way, he's in a classroom and he's sitting there and the teacher is late. And for some reason, he decides he's going to stand up and become the teacher of the class. And like later on in the movie, they ask, like, how did you do this? Like, how are you essentially just lying to everybody every single day? He says, no, he wasn't lying. He just simply read one chapter ahead. And that's all that matters. He was one chapter ahead of everybody else. So then he was able to teach. He was able to essentially run this kind of business by just being ahead. What do you think that says about entrepreneurship overall?
I think yeah, that's entrepreneurship. That means it's just always learning, always being ready to act. Because I remember another thing I remember that really gave me that spur back then. There was this book I read back then by Michael Masterson, Ready, Fire, Aim. So it was just about when you're ready, take the first step and just then after adjust. So I think that's generally entrepreneurship because after that, over time, I've had businesses where I had to write business plans. We write business plans and there's no business plan that's gone according to
Plan.
what we wrote
Right.
down. So I think that
Sure.
approach just works. Yeah, you're ready, just do what you have to do and then adjust along the way. You just get the best results that way for me.
Book of Ready, Fire, Aim. And you're now drawing on your experience of, this business, this first one you just started, Ready, Fire,
Yeah.
Aim. Other businesses over the last, over decade, you've written business plans and they don't end up going according to plan ever.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your advice to people is almost Ready, Fire, Aim.
Yeah, ready, fire, aim. Like you have to, at least you have to know the basics. You have to know your numbers. You have to know if the market you're going into makes sense. You have to have faith in your idea. But apart from that, I feel most ideas die with planning. I have a lot of friends that have wanted to, they see what I do. They want to become business owners, want to become entrepreneurs. They have this really big ideas. I can see the ideas are big, but they plan 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and nothing happens. It stays there. It stays in a piece of paper. It stays in their heads. That's what happens. So I think just move and a lot of times once you've made that first spend from your credit card or your savings, you have this what do they call it? Sunken costs, sunk costs. So you just have to you
Sure.
just keep following it up here. But if you don't do anything about it, you just stay and probably I've noticed a lot of times someone else takes the idea. Because I remember like back then, 2018 or thereabouts, I had the idea for a boil bar. This fish seafood boil bar.
Okay, I'm
I
with you.
didn't do it. Yeah, I wrote a lot of a big business plan, did the pictures and all that. I didn't do it. 4 months later, someone else started
Interesting.
it.
Interesting. And then it almost like validated your idea of like, oh wow, I really
Yeah.
should have done that.
And it's still open to today. That's the bad part.
Really? So if you
Yeah.
had started, but of course, everything sort of happens for a reason. At least that's how I live
Yeah.
my life. So that wasn't meant to be. But I do love, and I want to reiterate this piece, right? That you're saying you have all these friends. I do as well. They come up with these ideas. They start planning and planning and planning, and they never start. And that's what's holding them back, right? And then you mentioned a sort of a sunk cost, right?
Yeah.
Is that like something that you recommend to people also to almost like I'll say put your money where your mouth is? What do you think?
I don't really recommend it so they don't blame me if it doesn't work out. But for me, I think it really works for me because there are sometimes I have maybe money I'm not using and I'm sitting on it. When I maybe cut it in half or cut like 3/4 of it and I know, my God, it's getting low, I follow up on what I spent on it. I spent it on.
Yeah,
So it works for
yeah.
me. So if anyone hearing feels it will work for them, they can go ahead, but I won't really recommend it directly.
All right, nobody is allowed to sue Peter here. All right, but there is there's a really really famous entrepreneur called his name's Russell Brunson. He runs this software called ClickFunnels. He tells a story that while he was in, I don't know if it was high school or college, he was a wrestler. And his wrestling coach came to him one day and gave him a DVD that was like, hey, this is the best wrestler in the world. I want you to watch this and I want you to study this. And before he gave it to him, he said, take out your wallet. He took out his wallet. He's like, how much money do you have in your wallet? I don't even know. It was something like $8 or $20,
Yeah.
40. Doesn't matter. The coach took the money, gave him the DVD, and he's like, what's this about? He was like, now it's guaranteed that you're going to watch it. Now it's guaranteed that you have admitted, you have put value behind it because you've paid for it. You've said this is valuable. Now you're going to watch it. And so I think I have to agree, and I actually will recommend this to everybody. You can't sue me for advice. I don't think that's a possible thing to do. So I recommend if you're serious about starting something, put some financial commitment behind it. It doesn't have to be anything big, but that means that you are putting your money where your mouth is, and you're going to see it as being more valuable.
Yeah, it looks more, it's more real now, not just there.
More real now. It's not just there. Exactly. And so let's keep moving along here, right? And so, well, first of all, let me ask you this. So you said that you were a confident child, right? Confident in school,
Yeah.
and you took that into business. Okay. Let's try and flip it. What advice can you give to people that don't have that innate confidence, right? They weren't born with it. How can they still get into business? How can they chase their dreams when they just don't have this God-given talent of confidence?
I think what I have learned, because I had to rebuild my confidence in the past after around after the pandemic and all that. And what I learned in that process is that confidence really comes from small wins in your life. And looking back, I feel those small wins were probably the academic wins, the different things I did and they worked out, the first business I did and it just worked out. So those small wins kept building the confidence because I kept feeling I could do more. Of recent, it can actually be something not even related to business, just generally in your life. So I talk about my fitness journey a lot. I was 108 to 110 kilos 2 years ago. I'm currently 82 kilos right now. How it started was January 2023. I committed to walking at least 6,000 steps every day. So just 6,000 is not much. It's like maybe an hour of walking. So I could do 15 minutes 4 times, and I have that. But I did that for like a week or so, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing it. I've not missed any day. Then that was in January. By February 20th, 2023, I joined the gym. I said, okay, I'm going to do 3 times a week. You see, it's going higher. I started with steps, joined the gym. So just things like that. Once you just take something small and commit to it and win at it, something you know you can win at, commit to it for maybe a month, 3 months. Before you know, your confidence is going to be built. Because a lot of times, where you don't have confidence is because you feel you don't believe in yourself enough. That's where you have lack of confidence. And most times it happens because of things that happened in the past too.
Sure, so true. That lack of confidence comes from because of things that happened in the past. This lack of confidence comes from not having a belief in yourself because you haven't put in the reps, you haven't put in the time.
Yeah.
And your advice here is that, confidence comes from small wins. It doesn't have to be business stuff, but just start to stack small wins and boost up your confidence, right? What am I missing?
Yeah. That's perfect.
There you go. I like it. But I think there's a classic speech by a Navy SEAL that's what he talks about making his bed, right? Especially in
Mm.
like Navy SEAL military training. The whole day they're just getting beat up, right? Like they're getting yelled at, they're saying, "You suck, you're terrible, like get better." But when they get back to their room at night, they see their perfectly made bed. And it's this little small win that they can
Hmm.
look back on. You know what? There's all these things that like they kept telling me how bad I was today, but there's a small win I can see right there. And it gives them hope for the next day,
Yeah.
right? Keep moving forward. I love it. Absolutely love it. So just now you mentioned something else that you had to almost restart a little bit, regain your confidence after the pandemic, right? So give us a
Yeah.
little bit what happened here between 2010, you starting this first web hosting company, all the way up until we'll call it 2020.
2020. Okay. 2010, started web hosting company, started a lot of things. 2017, I got married to my best friend.
Oh,
But it didn't
wonderful.
work.
Oh,
It
oh,
didn't work. And the funny thing is that I was already used to everything I touched working.
oh man. Oh no.
So when that didn't work, I think it started messing with my mind a bit and all that. Then by 2019, okay, she was Canadian. So 2019, we were in two different, okay, we used to be together in the UK. Then later she moved to Canada. I came to Nigeria. Late 2019, nobody could travel. So
Oh,
just
you're
somehow at the
separated.
end of the day,
Yeah.
yeah, we got
Yeah.
separated at the end of the day. So after that, it really messed my mind up because I come from a family where my parents stayed together throughout my life. Most of my relatives are like that too. So I always felt I could, I always wanted that same thing. And even though the whole situation was hard, I always felt, okay, when hard things come up in business, I can always fix them. I can always figure things out. My people I know in business always bring their problems to me. So seeing that I couldn't figure that out, it really messed with how I thought about myself. It really messed with my confidence and everything. And 2020, I actually just shut off, stopped talking to everybody, just let all the businesses I had then die. That was
Oh
it.
man. Oh, so it wasn't just you shut off talking to like friends and family 2020 because of all of this personal stuff
Staff,
that happened. Everything.
everybody. Yeah, everybody. Everybody, because I kept there's this thing that they call catastrophizing. When something bad happens, you keep focusing on that bad thing, and the more you keep
Oh,
focusing on it, the bigger it looks. So that's what I was doing. So it just
oh.
kept looking worse than it actually was.
They say it's snowballs. If you ever heard that one before, like a
Yes,
snowball
yeah.
running down a mountain, a snowy
Down
mountain
the
just gets
mountain,
bigger and bigger
yeah.
and bigger. And so you were kept focusing and you were just dwelling on what was wrong.
And what was wrong, and how I couldn't fix what was wrong.
I mean, you look pretty great today, my friend, if I do say so myself. You're running a great business, so something changed.
Yeah. Okay, so 2020, like half of 2021, I kept just I would be in my house for maybe 2 weeks and not talk to anyone. Maybe if I run out
Yeah.
of food, I go get food and come back. Fortunately for me, I had some crypto and all that. So I wasn't really bothered with money back then.
Okay.
So what happened was I had this aunt, my mom's younger sister that was really close to me. She used to call me every day. I didn't tell her what was going on with me, but I think maybe she felt it somehow. But so she always used to call me every day, like twice a day. Talk just, how are you? What are you doing? This, that, and that. And she's this person that had this really full life. She has a beautiful family. She has this had her career, retired at the top of her career, started a business after she retired, and it was really successful in a really short time. So,
Wow.
but September 2021, she died suddenly.
Wow.
She died, and it really shocked me, really jolted me. But after like maybe 2, 3 days, and I now realized that she won't regret, she won't be unhappy that she died because practically everything she wanted in life, she went head on for it and she got it, she achieved it. And I'm like, I'm here beating myself up. I'm here, I've let everything around me collapse because of something I can't really control or something that's out of my control. If I die today, I'm going to regret it. I'm probably going to be one of those spirits haunting everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I think that was really the trigger, 2021,
Wow.
where I just decided, okay, let's get back to on the grind.
Wow. Man, that is that's so difficult. Huh?
It is.
You
I think I
were
always she's on my desk here.
beautiful, man. Beautiful.
She's
Dude,
always in
going
front of me.
from what an amazing to have that you have somebody like that in your life, right? I think most people have somebody like that in their life that they don't, I'll say that they don't appreciate enough, that they don't realize
Yeah.
that that person exists. And it's, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that you realize how grateful you should be for what inspiration she was before she was gone?
No. No. No, no. Because after I realized I can't, I think at the point where she was buried, I realized, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to talk to her or ask anything or anything. I'm like, there's so many things I could have asked her. There's so much advice she would have given, and I just let it go.
Man,
Yeah,
it's
so
how can I want people to every interview that I do, right? I learned a ton, and so I want, but the whole point is I want people to learn from others' experiences, right?
yeah.
So how can people learn? How can people realize to be grateful, or how can they see these people in their life and appreciate them today, take advantage of them today before it's too late?
And I think it's one thing I learned recently, like maybe the last year or thereabouts. It's every day trying to focus my mind on what I have, trying to focus my mind on what's good in my life, trying to be grateful for everything. And if you do that, if you make it a practice, if you make it something you make sure you do every day, you start realizing these people around you that might just, on a normal day, they might just be another person or just another voice or another number in your phone. But if you force yourself to be grateful every day, you realize that these people are actually important. These people are actually making a big difference, making a big impact on your life. So I think that's one thing. Just embrace gratitude, embrace being happy, being grateful for every good thing you have, and you notice them. I think there's this effect they say if you buy a red car, you see red cars everywhere. So if you are grateful, you'd see reasons to be grateful everywhere.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You said, literally said the words practice gratitude and focusing on what you have versus what you don't have. I just wanted to outline that as a key, right? It takes practice. And then what you just said, as far as you buy the red car, you see the red car, right? The part of your brain that's actually called the reticular activation system that you see and you focus on more of what you see and what you focus on. It's the same reason why people say, like, surround yourself with people that you want to be like, or the people that you surround yourself with, you become the average. It's simply because what you focus on, what you see, you get more of. It's a very scientific fact. And so I love this. Practice being grateful for what you have. Practice focusing on what you have versus what you don't have. And thus more and more if that's going to come into your life.
Perfect. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. And so dude, such a loss. I'm sorry to hear that in 2021 you lost your aunt, but it sounds like it changed your life for the better. And so what happened next?
Okay, so I looked at all these 4 businesses I had. Oh, I can't even remember how many anymore because they were overwhelming. They were stressing me out. I think part of the reason I even let them down was they were stressing me. Personal life was stressing me, so I just wanted everything to leave me. So I looked at everything and I realized, okay, what do I do? I want to build, but what do I do? And I realized that I need to pick one first of all because I had realized previously that focusing on things made them grow better. So I looked at the businesses. I didn't even have to think. I just picked Target ICT because Target ICT has been me. Like even before I started the web hosting business, I was this kid that was always in my computer. My mom got me a computer in 2006. I buried myself in it all day. So I think that was even the root of me being this techie person. So I picked Target ICT, let's the rest go. And the funny thing I always say is that focusing on only Target ICT, I'm building a bigger thing than those 4 I had then. I have like I said, I have more funds, more money personally to myself than I had when I had 4. And it's crazy because you think 4 businesses will give you more than one, but it's just ironical.
Man, so you're saying that, well, first off, this last thing that you said, you're saying that by having one business versus 4, you're making more money.
Yes.
How come?
Okay, because then I had 4. First of all, if you have a business, things break every day. Business is just solving problems every single day. So imagine solving problems in 4 places every single day. It was overwhelming. I couldn't put my whole focus, put my whole energy into solving the problems that came up. And end of the day, maybe like 2 of the businesses will make money this month, 2 will lose money. You end up using the money these ones made to solve the problems of this other one. So that's just what was happening, back and forth, chaos everywhere. So now there's one, you're focused on one. When a problem comes up, you're 100% focused on solving that problem. You get better solutions, you think better. When you have ideas, you're having ideas on only that one thing. So you give it the best of your energy, best of your mind, the best of your everything.
Great. You narrowed your focus to one thing. You got rid of all of these other problems and challenges, these distractions that were happening, so that you can go really specific into one thing. And that one thing is your current business, Target ICT. Tell everybody just a little bit about it.
Okay, so Target ICT is just basically, when I had the other businesses I talk about, like I had a couple of food businesses. I don't know how to cook to save my life till today. A lot of things I didn't know how to do the business part of But what I knew how to do was using technology to have an edge. So I remember I talked about Google Ads back in 2010, 2011. Then most people were using it. I started Facebook ads to really early. I've had a procurement business which I use SEO to build when people were really using SEO. So people in other businesses always asked me what I was doing different and getting these results and cool. So that's actually why I started Target ICT back in 2018. I always say I started it to charge people asking me those questions.
The questions that you already knew the answers to.
Yeah.
Just what you... I should get paid for all these. I'm giving so much advice. I should be getting paid for this. That's actually kind of great. It's actually kind of great advice, right? Whatever people are coming to you in your daily lives, whatever people are coming to you and asking you about, maybe that's a business that you should start.
Yeah.
Right. And so Target ICT is really focused on using tech to give people an advantage, right? And a lot of tech being digital, online, right? Beautiful.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Nice. Everybody, there's a link down in the show notes. Go check them out for sure. And so, Peter, talk to me. So we're in the present day. Talk to me about your future, man. What are your hopes, dreams? Like, what do you want to do with this world?
I think the first thing I want to do is just live well, because like I said, there's something about living long and living a quality life. So that's why I've really put a lot of focus on my health, because there's this thing that they say that in life you can focus on health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality. Back then I used to focus just on wealth, none of the rest. These days I have my health and everything, relationships, everything are there. So I want to live a full life, a quality life. Then I think that way, once your life is full, then you can now impact others, because like they say, you can't pour from an empty bucket. So that's the future for me.
That's great, man. Living well, having a rounded focus. You said health, wealth, relationships, spirituality. And once you focus on yourself, you can pour into others.
Exactly.
That's so great. And so I think it goes pretty along the lines of just the one question I always like to ask people about is legacy. And so tell me, Peter, what does legacy mean to you? And thus, what's the legacy you want to leave on this world?
When I was younger, legacy to me was making a lot of money, buying an aircraft and things like that. But but I think living through making the money, living through losing the money, living through building things and losing all of them. I think at the end of the day, and especially from my aunt I talked about the way she lived her life too, I think the legacy I want to leave is just leaving the world better than how I left it. No matter how small, leaving people I meet. I want everybody I meet to have a story about how I made their life better, no matter how small it is. I think that would be the greatest legacy I can leave behind.
Beautiful. I couldn't agree with you more, right? Everyone you meet, just make their lives a little bit better. Have like the story that they tell about you be a simple, positive, well-rounded one, huh?
Exactly.
And that's a wrap, everybody. What did you think? Honestly, what did you think? Please let me know. I'm everywhere on social media, online. Drop a comment for me. Peter teaches about, just start. Shared this great JP Morgan quote, right? That was like, start now without knowing and do as good as you can. And then when you get to there, you're going to know more, right? He gave the analogy of climbing the mountain. From the beginning, you can't see the top. So just start. Man, he shared about confidence, how confidence comes from small wins, practicing gratitude, focusing on what you can accomplish, focusing on what you do have. Man, talks about how to find your passion, how you should be narrowing your focus. And then, of course, how a legacy comes from being a well-rounded person. You living your life, focus around not just wealth, but health, relationships, and spirituality as well. That way, every person that you connect with, that you meet, you're going to leave them a little bit better. And thus, you're going to end up leaving this world a little bit better as well. It's that ripple effect that we love to talk about in the Journey to Legacy community. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Please do share the episode with a friend, a family member, a colleague, anyone and everyone who you think might get a little bit of value. But until next time, you have been listening to the Journey to Legacy podcast. I'll see you soon.